evening, officers. Welcome to tonight's overview and scrutiny panel, performance and growth, on the 5th of November. So I'm looking at my laptop and it says the 4th. Yep, that is incorrect. So without further ado, we will look for apologies tonight. Thank you, Lauren.
We received apologies for councillors Gledo, Pickering and Tevlin tonight.
Thank you. If we could, if any members have got any notice of inaccuracies for the minutes, please do speak now. That would be great. Thank you. All good? Thank you. Thank you. That's the minutes signed. Members' interests. Has anyone got any declarations to the disclosable pecuniary or other interests relating to any of the agenda items this evening? Okay, thank you, members. So item number 3 is the overview and scrutiny work programme. That's page 11 to 26. Any members have anything to say on that? All good? This could be a very, very short meeting. I would just like to say on the on that area, just to let members know that myself, as vice chair and chair of this panel, and the other panel, chair and vice chair, have had an email from officers, and we are going to cancel the December meeting for overview and scrutiny within this panel. And as far as we know, the January one was not going to be a public meeting, so that was going to be looking at the scrutiny work programme, and again, we will not be using that to in the January to progress with that either. If anyone has some, yep, Councillor Martin.
Thank you very much, Chair. I've just pulled, after you said that, I pulled up the Constitution, and under the committee procedure rules 2.22, it says that it's for the chair of the committee to consider if a date is no longer suitable for the purpose because there's insufficient business, and it should be done in consultation with leaders of political groups and the head of paid service. So it is a decision for the chair of the committee, but also leaders of political groups should be involved in that discussion. I, as the leader of the Conservative group, have not been involved in that conversation, but it is for the chair to decide if that is what she wants to do. So if the chair decides she wants the meeting to go ahead, I'm sure she can tell officers and the head of paid service that she wants the meeting to go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. I know the chair has been in discussions with it and with the local member of Ramsey, because one of the items is the Market Town programme for Ramsey. The outcome, I'm not entirely sure of that conversation, but I know the chair has been in consultation with myself and officers, and I do apologise that yourself were not involved in that.
Thank you, Chair. Through yourself. I'm happy to pick it up offline, respecting Councillor Martin's point. And as I say, colleagues have been in conversation with the chair of the committee, and I'll make sure we communicate whatever decision is reached accordingly.
Thank you. Right. Item 4, if we can go on to outstanding responses from the previous meetings, that's page 27 to 28. If anyone's got any concerns or issues with those responses, then please do speak up. All good? Thank you. So now we will go on to item 5, that's the corporate performance report 25 to 2026, that's quarter 2. So that's from July to September 25. The performance and growth panel are invited to consider and comment on the progress and the performance during this quarter 2 period. We have Executive Councillor Stephen Ferguson, and we have, are you Gregory? Stephanie Gosling, thank you. And I'll let you carry on, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So it doesn't seem like very long since we reported. we did the last one of these, but it's a funny reporting schedule. So I think that the stories are very similar to last time, although there have been a few that have changed from amber to green, which is good news. Notable success stories: KPI 2, which is number of one leisure admissions, which have increased since June. And partly due to the upgrades to 101 Leisure, which is good news. Delighted to see continued good progress for KPI 3 and 4. For like most of the last 3 years, I've sat here and moaned about this, despite the fact it's in my portfolio, because it's one that really affects residents. And I was tentatively greeting some success last time round, but we've continued that success and it's improved. And so for, I think KPI 3, we've reduced the waiting time to 22.1 weeks, which is the best we've had since April 2023, which I think is a notable success. We had some problems with council tax bandings, basically due to Whitehall changes to the valuation office, which seemed like they might have a large impact, but those have passed now. They've all been smoothed on, and so that's back on track. We've had a large increase in number of businesses engaged with, partly due to our CEO breakfast, which have had good attendance and also constant engagement with businesses in our district. I think KPI 22, which was missed bins, which I think we talked about a lot last time and was of great concern to this panel. Our missed bin rate is now down to 0.05%, and is now in the green, which is good news. Less good news is, and I focused on this last time because I think it's an important metric because it has downstream consequences on housing and homelessness and other things, but we're still on red for number of affordable homes delivered, not completely in our control. I think the housing team wanted me to note that these homes will be delivered, but they might show up in the performance next year rather than this year. So just because they're slipping doesn't mean the houses aren't being built, but I think that's one we need to keep an eye on. KPI 15 is the planning application backlog, which is still behind target. The team have put additional resources to help reduce this application backlog and doubling the size of people dealing with that. I think 11 of the sites are sensitive sites that require extremely lengthy processes to complete, and the team are focusing on completing those with the current aim of that these sensitive the applications of these sites are resolved by the end of quarter 3. KPI 19 is the recycling rate, which is almost 20% down last year. So we've collected 19% less garden waste, and the commentary here says that's largely due to an exceptionally dry year. We've increased the number of green bin subscriptions, but I think that 20% seems like a big number. I'm not, I'm not a big gardener myself, so I haven't noticed difference in weather conditions at this time of year. But 19% is big, and I think that's one that we need to keep an eye out. KPI 30 and 31, business rates and council tax collection have dipped into the amber, but I'm extremely confident that Katie and the team will get those back into the green. That's just part of the cyclical nature of the way we collect those things. We're coming down to that kind of time of year again. And KPI 32, short-term sickness has dipped into the red. And that, I think, is due to lots of illnesses going around, including 2 strains of COVID. And I know quite a lot of people have been poorly recently. So I think, our figures are still better than national average for the private and public sector. That's my review. I'm sure you've got lots of other questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Open this up panel to any questions. Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Councillor Ferguson, for your report. I have a question on a couple of the actions projects on pages 101 and 102, if I may. The first one is number 63, which is artificial intelligence, which I see is under your portfolio. I was just interested to know what training, if any, is given to staff on the use of artificial intelligence to aid their delivery of day-to-day services, and whether it is a structured kind of use of AI, or whether staff are able to just use AI off their own backs to do things that they might think are improving their efficiency. That's the word I was looking for. And the second question really was on number 64, which was about listening to local residents. 64. 64. I know my page doesn't go very well, right? Which I see is marked as staying the same as amber, but actually it was green last time, so it's actually gone down. And I just wondered how you measure how you listen to local residents, and is the fact that it's amber suggesting that you're not listening to local residents over local government reorganisation in the way that you were last quarter about other things?
Thank you. They're both excellent questions. With regard to CPA 63 and AI, I don't know about you, but I use a lot of ChatGPT in my professional life because I find it's really, really helpful. And it is, if used properly, it can be a huge productivity enhancement. This is actually referring to a bought-in service that we're going to use in the call centre to help direct calls more intelligently. So it's actually going to be a resource saving. So it's going to involve training for the staff, but it's also going to be an automated system that helps direct people to the people who can help the most and save those having to go through to a switchboard call. So it's a bought-in service that we're getting from other places, and we're going to be implementing. And it's part of when we get to the budget talks, it's a part of an aggressive cost-saving action to make our resources more efficient, because I've always wanted our limited resources to be concentrated on helping people who need the help most, rather than getting involved in switchboard inquiries and things. So that I think that's going to be a great help, and we're very optimistic it's going to be helpful. I don't know about other uses of AI. I mean, and it's a good question, isn't it? Because I think if you're going to use it, it's got to be used properly. So I will talk to Michelle to ask about, I mean, quite often when I'm dealing with queries from residents, I have a check. I don't ever put personal details in, but you have to use it responsibly and you have to treat it with some caution. So I think it's a good question about how we use it outside of those bounds, but I don't know the answer to that. CPA 64, I'm not actually sure how we measure that, so I'm going to have to defer that to Steph. I'm sure that we are listening to local residents about LGR. I think that lots of local residents are suddenly interested in LGR after being, disinterested for a long time, because it seemed like, the machinations of in local politics, which interest only nerds like us, but now it's beginning to become real, isn't it? And so we've seen a lot of social media talk, a lot of opinions expressed, and so I think it's important that we do listen to people. So, Steph, can you explain how that measure is measured?
Thank you. Yes. So one of the ways that we're listening is that we've joined a county-wide service to responding to LGR. There's been a series of surveys that have gone out, and we've received the feedback from that. The engagement activity is definitely being used as an insight for the LGR business cases, for sure. And we're continuing to interact with FAQs and open communication on some of those key questions that people are going to have available on our website. In addition to other areas that we're listening, I can go back to our comms team and make sure that we're aware of exactly how and get that back to you, if that would be of interest.
Yes, Councillor Jones, do you have a supplementary question?
I do. Thank you, Chair. And thank you both for your answers. I think it's just really going on from that, and I understand sort of the sort of things that you're collecting. How do you come to a decision that it's an amber in this report? Because an amber would suggest that that there's some way to go, and I take on board what Councillor Ferguson says about. Thank you. The increase in residents' awareness of LGR, perhaps after the first of our councils made their decision a couple of weeks ago, it certainly has piqued the interest of people who perhaps otherwise wouldn't be as interested.
I will go and make sure I've got that methodology for you, and we can get an exact phrasing of what amber looks like, what green looks like, and what red looks like with regards to this action.
But just to say that I agree with you, it's important that we do listen to residents. I don't think that the County Council did listen to residents or didn't appropriately communicate all the options to residents. I think some of that rests on us as councillors, isn't it, to talk to our communities and try and be conduits for their opinions. But it's a difficult thing to do because not all of the business. We've only seen some of the business cases becoming available this week, and it's also quite a lot to expect for the people in the street to read some of these massive business cases. There seems to be, I think, from my experience, seems to be a very unanimous opinion from around the parts district, at least that we represent. I think we could both agree on what our residents want at the moment. Of course, Huntingdonshire is quite a big and diverse place, and so it's important. And I think our full council debate is going to be an important time for councillors to poll their own communities, listen to their residents, and come forward and talk up for them and fight for the cases that they're making. So yeah, I think that we play an important role with that. There's only so much we can put out surveys and it's important that we engage with them formally, but I think it comes down to councillors is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Mike, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think just to further answer Councillor Jennings' point, yes, LGR is one factor, and that's been the core basis of the activity. I think the amber recognition there is the fact that the team would simply like to have done more, but the resource that they've had has been limited in the team due to some staffing changes and things like that over the previous period, and also the fact that we've had a period with the summer involved as well, where naturally we're not looking to put out loads of consultation type documents, whereas even just kicking off today, we've got the local plan consultation that we've been preparing for. So I think it's one of those that will see those dips and troughs, but I'm sure Steph can take that back to the team and provide some more colour for you.
Thank you. Any members? Yes, Councillor Campbell. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much for adding the preferred direction of travel to my appendix, as I think of it, because it's a bit weird when you've got the same thing and the other appendices don't have it and I have it, but it's very, very useful to me, just because it lets me very quickly look at the graph and say, well, up is preferred or down is preferred, or that's brilliant. One thought really was on the green waste. Could we normalise by rainfall? Because at the moment it's just the bulk number of tonnes. and we know that garden waste is very rainfall dependent. We are expecting a drought again next year, I am told. So should we start normalising by rainfall? Just a thought.
I mean, speaking as an engineer, bins per millimetre of rainfall is not the sort of non-dimensional quantity that I would like to We can think about including that in the report, I guess, but I'm not sure. I think you should probably invite Andy Rogan back to look at this again, because I think 90% is quite high. As I said before, I think that rainfall is a factor, but these things are always multi-causal, aren't they? And trying to untangle them and perhaps relating it to a single factor might not be too helpful. I'm not sure. It's up to the ONS panel, but I'm not sure it would be easier to interpret.
Thank you. I'll leave that to the experts. Councillor Corney, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe not so much of a question or a comment. I mean, you might want to sort of comment on it, but 58, which was the progress of delivery of the civil parking enforcement, we've gone straight in at green. And there'd probably be argument as well. I know some of my residents would say, that we were certainly over at Ramsey, certainly behind the curve. There were various reasons behind that, why that, but they're sort of somewhat behind the curve on some of the other towns. But without wanting to sort of say about the timings that they're actually taking part in the civil park enforcement, until we sort of do the whole time, it probably shouldn't really be green, I wouldn't have thought. But it's a bit of a funny one, really. So I appreciate this is a new one, it's straight off the bat almost, but not sure whether it would go straight into green.
I think that the green for civil parking enforcement is reflecting that it's in place, and I think what we've said from the beginning is that we were going to take 6 months to look at the data, and then we can come back and draw conclusions. I'm always very wary about trying to draw conclusions from small sample sizes, and so to do it now would be premature, I think. But when we come back, certainly, I mean, have those questions ready, because I think it's important that we do look at where we're targeting antisocial parking and illegal parking, and making sure that it's fairly spread across the district. But I think at the moment it's too soon to do that, and so 6 months will come around quite quickly, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just come back on. I think completely get that. I don't know, sort of say it's right. So it wasn't a bit of a, almost wasn't a question, but I guess the point being would be that. On the back of what you've just said, maybe somebody, the public could look at that and think, "Oh, green, they think they're doing a great job straight off the bat." And there's always going to be room, because you're finding your feet. So I think it's just from a recording point of view, I guess. But you definitely need that data behind it to sort of to move it. But then you need to be able to move it in either direction, don't you? So thank you.
I think that's a fair point.
Thank you. I think on the civil parking enforcement, I am looking forward to the data to come through in the next 6 months. Certainly, having my eyes in my local ward and still seeing illegally parked vehicles is really frustrating. So I am really looking forward to that data and try to understand how that can actually maybe look, get the enforcement officers maybe at different routes at different times, etc. So look forward to that. Any more questions? Councillor Martin.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just 2 PIs to raise from me, and probably more comments than questions, but I'm sure Councillor Ferguson will share his thoughts on it as well. The first one is in regards to PI 17. So this was one that I raised when this was first created at the start of this year, in regards to the number of business engagements by the Economic Development team. Now, unsurprisingly, the Economic Development team has spoken to a lot of businesses, and it's fantastic. But this doesn't really go into the detail of some of the work that they've done and some of the successes that they've had. We look at the news that came out of Westminster yesterday, last week, from the Huntingdonshire Does Defence event. We had some huge defence primes at that meeting. There's a lot of talk about investment coming into Huntingdonshire, but just having a number on a graph here of 415 businesses engaged with doesn't tell that story. So just to take away, I think it'd be useful to find a better way of showing the great work that the economic development team is doing and some of the successes that they have had over, especially the last couple of weeks, but since the team started. And then the other one I wanted to raise was PI 11 in regards to number of affordable houses delivered. So this is very low and is projected to be read at the end of the year. Now, I appreciate that the council aren't house builders. We're not building these affordable houses, but the Joint Administration has a slogan of do enable influence. So I think it'd be useful to come back to this panel, have Councillor Wakeford come to this panel and explain to us, what is he doing, what is he enabling, what is he influencing to try and increase this number, because seeing 112 when we should be nearly at 200 at this stage is a huge concern when it comes to affordable houses being delivered in Huntingdonshire. So, Chair, I'd like to recommend at some stage we have Councillor Wakeford come back to us and explain what he's doing to try and improve this target, recognising that he can't do specifically, he can't go out and build the houses, but he can certainly enable and influence in the building market. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. So with regard to the first point, you're saying that we're not doing enough to recognise the excellent work that team's doing, which I also respect and agree with. I think the intention of the measure, as we said before, I think if anybody's been involved in any kind of sales role before, it's a funnel, isn't it? And you have to put lots of stuff in the top, lots of leads in the top to get lots of opportunities and eventually close business out at the bottom. And so it's one of the things we can measure, and I think always in those kind of trying to ascribe value to opportunities down the funnel is difficult, and so it's one of the things we can measure. And I think what you're referring to with regard to Witten is it's a different type of engagement, isn't it? Because it's a huge strategic opportunity which they've worked really hard on, and I think is perhaps going to change the outcome of our future with regards to LGR. We have to see what decision that goes, but it's a massive game change. And I think we should perhaps, if we can think of any other ways that we can measure the great job they do for the district, I think that we should do that. I'm at a loss to think about what those are. Mr. Gildersleeves, were you indicating? Well, I'm for Chair. Sorry, I'm not.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Go for it, Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Through yourself, just to pick up on the point, I think it was raised by Councillor Pitt previously about that quality and quantity. And you'll know one of the things off the back of the economic growth strategy was actually recognising, the interactions that the team are having on a daily basis, but actually bringing more visibility to that activity amongst members. So certainly it's something I've tasked the team with doing in one of our all-member briefings so that you can kind of get that regular flavour of what's been happening, telling the story, because if we can tell the story to you and tell the story to other businesses, actually it continues that piece about Huntingdonshire as a place that people want to invest because we're offering a service that isn't there in lots of other councils. So absolutely, Councillor Ferguson's point is right, is we have to speculate to accumulate in terms of the number of hits essentially, but the quality and the conversion rate is also something we need to kind of pick up on. So I'll take that back into the team, make sure we get them on an all-member briefing so we can kind of give that wider visibility of the qualitative side.
And so with regard to the second point on housing, I mean, I agree completely. If you look through our corporate objectives, lots of them refer to housing, and though it's something we can't necessarily directly influence, we have to influence it because the consequences of not having enough affordable housing coming through, you can see it, in some of the reds that are coming through from the housing and homelessness team in terms of number of people in temporary accommodation. If we can't get more properties online, then we can't get people out of temporary accommodation. It's simply a pipeline. So I get that completely. I think it's up to the committee to invite Councillor Wakeford. I think if he were here, he would observe that across the last 2 years before this, we have delivered a record number of affordable houses. And sometimes these things are volatile, as you know, and sometimes, you can have a dip down and a dip up. And if we looked at the number of affordable houses we'd have delivered across this administration, we have exceeded expectations, but that doesn't let anybody off the hook, because we're looking to the future and looking to, especially as we look at the end perhaps of this district council, to make sure that we keep doing and keep up that good record into the future. So I completely acknowledge what you're saying. I agree, it's a great concern for me. I talked at length about it last time, and yeah, I think Councillor Wakeford would probably have much more to say than I.
Thank you, Chair. It was something that I'm quite strong that we should be inviting. I don't know whether other members agree with me that we should be inviting officers in, that we spoke about, head of waste a minute ago, about the green waste, etc. And there is no reason why we can't invite other councillors in to answer your questions as well, executive councillors. So that's something that I'm, very, very amenable to, and I think it's something that we should be doing to get more answers, because this is, as we know, this is your remit is the performance. Your remit is not understanding how the operations work, etc. So, yeah, Councillor Gardner.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Ferguson, for the report. If you look at PI 23, I think the last time this came to us, I did ask at that time, rather than it say 206 inspections were completed across 10 wards, it would be useful if we knew where the inspections had been done, because that would benefit all councillors and we could actually see where we were undertaking inspections. And I do think that would be a useful piece of information with regard to that. And then I note that we have got 205 passed at grade A or B. Well, it would be quite useful to know what's determined as grade A, grade B, or grade C, D and E. That would be just a useful piece of information on there. So I just think that would be useful going forward. So that was really a comment more than anything else. Did you want to answer?
Can I just reply? Because I think we promised last time that we'd come back with methodology for this, because it's important to understand how we come to those numbers. I don't know if Steph wants to comment now. I was slightly relieved when I saw it was down to 95%, because we got criticised for having 100% last time. I thought, phew, thank God we failed one. But that was a quickly resolved one as well, so it's almost 100%. But I think for us to have confidence in that number, it's important that we do look at the methodology and understand what the number actually means, because like you said previously, I think most of us would agree, though we work really hard at it, that the street scene inspections in our own wards is not close to 100%, isn't it? So that the fact that the measure is different does raise some questions, I think. Steph, do you have anything to say on that?
Yes, thank you. I believe we submitted a methodology with a calendar as well of the wards that were represented last month. We submitted that to yourselves. I also have a hard copy in my bag if you'd like to see it after this meeting.
Yep, Councillor Gardner.
Thank you for that. The other question was, have you got any idea when civil parking enforcement will be undertaken or start to be undertaken in the rural areas? Because in my division, I've yet to see any civil parking enforcement being undertaken, and I've got residents now ask me when that is going to be rolled out across the rural areas. So it'd just be interesting to know that.
I don't know that personally. I think we'll have to ask the portfolio holder. I do drive through your division quite often, Councillor Gardner, and I share your concerns. So yes, I think it's important that, and I think I said previously, I think when we get to getting that full data, I think that the problem is that a few months is a small sample size, and we can only average it. It's still a relatively small team, and we can only average it over a period of time, and so it's going to take them a while to reach everywhere. But it's not my ambition. But I'd hope that every district in the council is going to be positively affected by that. So I think when we get the full data, but we can pass that question on to Councillor Kerr, who will be able to tell you if and when it will be we will be hitting the more rural parts of the district.
Thank you. Mike, would you like to come in on that one? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Again, another one of those services that sits with me, so I'll pick it up with George and get you a written response in respect of your particular area of the district. I know, George, as Councillor Ferguson has said, this was always set out to be, we're going to kind of be learning as we go for the first year. We've got an annual report that we need to produce under the legislation that will come forward probably after the election as a result of getting the year-to-date data. But I do know George and the team are looking to pencil in a date with Democratic Services to do an all-member briefing again, just to give you an update on where we are, what progress has been like, what typical issues we've started to find, things like that, because we always knew there were going to be teething problems, etc. As I say, they are working their way around the district. There are a number of members that have said, can you come to my patch? What's been happening in my patch? And kind of, we're trying to manage that in the context of we've got a big district. You can imagine if all 52 councillors said that, we spend all the time responding to that and not necessarily getting around the district in a logical way. So leave it with me. We'll take it away and get you a written response, Councillor Gardner.
And you should hear the whinging from the St Neots councillors on exactly the same point. So it's everywhere, Councillor Gardner. And always St Neots are the most vocal and grumpiest of all councillors. That's just me and Andy.
Thank you. Yes, I can count myself in on that one. Okay. Does any members, before I ask a question on this performance, anyone else want to contribute? No? So this is probably something that will have to be taken away. And it's to do with influencing. So I'm not quite sure how HDC are influencing in it, but it's the CCC. So we continue, we continue to engage with CCC and the CPA on active travel matters. This is really interesting because this is part of this is going to have a good effect on St Neots. A bid was submitted in Q2 to the National Highways designated funds by CCC via CPA. It's just so many acronyms, sorry. CPCA for 4 projects. 3 are for active travel links from St Neots to Wide Boston Lakes. One is from Phoenix Park and to Wide Boston Lakes. The other one is St Ives local improvements, which apparently is nearing finalisation, which is good. What I would like, and I'll probably direct this to Mike, is an update on that and understanding that active travel route, because and also have the local members being notified and actively engaged with this, because there's no point in having a active travel route, I'm not even sure how they're going to do it, from Phoenix Park to Wide Boston Lakes, when actually they can't even get to Phoenix Park because there is no path. You can't walk there, you have to walk beside a busy road on a muddy track. So if you could sort of take that away, and so I can understand this, because to me it feels like it hasn't been linked up properly.
Certainly, Chair, happy to take it away and have a look at it, but I think it's more, again, a matter for the County Council impact in terms of they're the ones that will be ultimately statutory responsibility for the routes. We will have a level of influence, which will be to say, generally, are we supportive or not? It's one of those areas that it's not our statutory responsibility, but we do have a level of interest in it, given it, hopefully will be used by our residents and the community. But leave it with me, I'll see what we can find. And, it might be we have to direct you to a relevant person at the County Council.
Thank you, Mike. And another one is, I don't know whether the panel's interested, it may have gone to the other panel, Market Town programme, if we can have an update on the Old Falcon at some point as well. Thank you.
I think there's a regular update. It must be due for the next one, isn't it? There isn't anymore. Is it finished? Oh, I'm not sure. Oh.
Was? Yes, Mike.
I think the point is I can go back and take it away and get you a written update on it. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the progress on the Old Falcon is still going along. You've got the commentary that's referenced there. We're still in dialogue with finalising the details with the owner, etc., to, you know, unlock the developer agreement that we've got in place. So, but I'll take it away and get you a more detailed written answer on where we are.
Thank you. That's much appreciated. Panel, is there anything more on this report that you... Yes, Councillor Catmore.
Really, thank you, Chair. Almost a response to you. I've certainly been involved in active travel in my ward and have proposed routes, and they have been agreed, and they will be going in. We had a parish council meeting earlier on this week to talk about the removal of various barriers to active travel. So they are going in. I'm not saying it's fast, but it's happening.
Thank you, Councillor Catmore. That is something very close to my heart, active travel. And there's no point in putting active travel in if you can't get to the place in the first place. But there you go. So, any more comments? No, all good with that? So we will go now to item number 6, which is the transformation report, pages 181 to 228. This is Executive Councillor Davenport Ray, but I do believe Councillor Ferguson, you're on it again?
Yeah, I was. I got a call about 5:30 today as I was driving back. So I'll do my best to introduce this report, although I've only just read it before I've come here as well. So the idea of this report is to set out the Council's transformation plan for 25-26. The aim is to bring all of our major improvement and change activity into a single, clear and coordinated plan. It aligns the commitments from the corporate plan, the strategic change programs we already have underway, and the individual service level transformation work happening across the organisation. It follows a recommendation from the LGA Corporate Peer Challenge, which highlighted that we needed a clearer and more consistent framework for transformation. In response, we now have agreed transformation framework supported by a strengthened governance structure, including the Officer-led Transformation Board, which oversees the progress prioritisation and assurance. The plan covers 3 levels of activities: the strategic change programs that support our Huntingdonshire Futures vision, major council-wide change projects, and the ongoing operational improvements led by services. Bringing these together in one place enables us to track progress more effectively and ensures that work is joined up and that we make better decisions about resources and sequencing. I should also note that ongoing local government reorganisation brings a level of uncertainty, as with most things. As the future unitary agreements take shape, some priorities may need to be reviewed or realigned. However, the approach set out in this plan strengthens our ability to adapt and ensures we continue to deliver improvements for residents in the meantime. Thank you. I'm not sure if any of the officers would like to say anything about this or... No?
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Officers, are you okay? Would you like to add anything to that?
Hello, so Lucy Aston. I think some of you have met me here. So I did just want to add, if that's okay, Councillor Ferguson, there's been a significant activity in bringing this plan and framework together, and this journey kicked off in actually January earlier this year, where we integrated what's known as the transformation planning with the service planning process that we have within the council. From this, we identified 65 transformational projects, and they're forming that portfolio of change projects that we have across all services within the council. I would like to mention there's also an additional 80 continuous improvement activities that underpin both the service delivery and the successful implementation of the transformation projects. I think one of the key documents that I would like to bring to your attention, I'm just going to hold it up, is Appendix 3, if you've all seen that. That is actually the transformation plan framework, and it's a summary of the projects that we've identified for 2025 and 26. This document provides a detail of the framework for delivering the transformation plan and a summary of those 65 projects identified for this financial year. I would also like to bring your attention to the last page within that document, which is page 17, which is a summary of the transformation governance framework. So I'm just going to hold it up. You can't see it, I appreciate, but But that actually shows a clear flow from the project working groups to the various officer boards that we have through to this committee and Cabinet to provide that oversight for the transformation plan. That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Jennings.
Thank you, Chair. Just before we start, really, I just wanted some clarification, perhaps from officers, about the recommendations that are on this report on page 182, because it does ask the Overview and Scrutiny Panel to endorse the approach to transformation as well as review and make any comments. But I don't, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure that it's within this panel's remit to be endorsing policies and plans, and surely we should just be making comments that go with it to Cabinet.
Anthony, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, endorsing isn't approving or adopting a policy. So I think you're effectively being asked to express your support for it, but you aren't the decision maker on this document. Oh, page 181, 182. If it helps, it's a phrase or a term that's used by the Employment Committee a lot, and they don't have any decision-making powers. So I'm not uncomfortable with that term.
Councillor, thank you. Councillor Jennings, are you okay with that word?
Well, I was going to say, if it's an active word like that, that feels like it should be a vote rather than just a review and making comments which get aggregated and put to Cabinet.
What page is that on? I've got, because I've got it individually, so I'm on. I'm happy if the panel want to take a vote on that, whether you agree with that word.
I don't think it. I think it's less about agreeing with the word, or whether it's agree or endorse. The key point of a scrutiny panel is to review the documents that you've been presented with. You can pass comment on them. You can say, actually, yeah, we agree with the terms here, and we're happy for Cabinet to take the final decision to approve the transformation plan and move it forward on that basis. You might say, actually, we're completely. No, we don't. Actually, whatever you might feel, you pass those comments. And as we've said before, this panel is entitled to make recommendations. It is then open to Cabinet what they then do with those recommendations moving forward, as with any of the comments. So, we can happily look at the language, but I think Tony's explanation is right there, that this isn't about saying you're approving the approach to transformation. It's saying, generally, are you comfortable with the approach to transformation that's been set out here? And if that was to then be taken forward by Cabinet. If you're not, that's absolutely fine, and you can make comments accordingly.
Thank you, Mike. Can I suggest then that we continue with the debate? Anything in there that you're happy with or not happy with, we'll continue with that and ask officers to comment on that. Councillor Martin, were you okay to?
Thank you very much, Chair. When I saw this coming up on the agenda, I was rather excited because I've been asking for a transformation plan for the last 3 years or so. When I first became a councillor. Unfortunately, I was slightly disappointed to see what we had in front of us, as far as I'm concerned, isn't really a transformation plan. It's more of a project tracker. It's tracking all the different things that we've done on the side, all the different plans and strategies, and merging it all into one document to be able to keep an eye on it, essentially, rather than looking at the transformation of the organisation. Now, transformation in local government is something that is well documented. So today I looked on the LGA website, And on there it says about benchmarking our capabilities, where they give you 10, 11 different capabilities to look at. And then it tells you how in a matrix to score it from 1 to 5. I was expecting to see something like that, where we're looking at the different types of capabilities the LGA think that we need to work on in a transformational way to improve the organisation, be told what level we are now, what level we want to be, and how we're going to get to that level, incorporating the 7 Cs, which are part of the LGA's transformation advice and strategy, which seems to be working well at other authorities. That's kind of what I was expecting in this paper, not to just see these are projects that we currently have across HDC, and this is what we're doing to try and achieve these projects, because most of the projects in here aren't transformational. They're not necessarily improving the way that HDC does things. It's not necessarily improving our chances in the future for people to look at us and say, well, okay, you're a well-run authority. This is just your business plan and your corporate plan and Huntingdonshire Futures and the place strategy all merge into one document to make it a bit easier for the Cabinet to look at and the Council to look at and track. So, you know, I welcome thoughts. I appreciate, Councillor Ferguson, that you aren't the portfolio holder that's been leading on this. But I am slightly disappointed. I was expecting more transformation. I want to see, how is Huntingdonshire going to be the shining light in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough? How are we as an organisation setting our staff up ready for LGR to happen so that they're at the top of the queue when it comes to job opportunities coming up? I want to know how are we improving our we're saving money, we're delivering better services, we're ensuring that residents are happy and are getting exactly what they need from the council, not just tracking a couple of projects.
So as you correctly, sorry, Chair, as you correctly identified, I'm perhaps not the best person to describe that. But what I do know as a portfolio holder is that an enormous amount of work goes on delivery area in our service plans and working how they're going to improve year on year. And I think it's helpful that that's visible. And so we do see the push for individual services to improve. And that's one of the way the council is improving. But I take your point on kind of the grand strategic vision and metrics. But Lucy, is there anything you would like to say on this at all?
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for that reflection back, and I will definitely be taking that back for discussion. What I would like to say is, yes, this is the first time that you'll see in this transformation plan, and it isn't that final version. It's an ongoing activity that is in itself continuously developing as we continue to bring greater challenge, and that's where that benchmarking data, it needs to come into that. And currently what we are doing is we're doing the mid-year review of the service planning and this transformation plan for the development of 2026-27 plan. And within that, we have actually developed sort of like the benchmarking data that you refer to from the Local Government Association, and the unit cost performance to bring greater challenge. And this information is now currently being used as part of that mid-year review, and we would expect to see further information of that in the 2026-27 transformation plan. But I do hear your sort of frustration and disappointment that you're not seeing that here now in the current plan.
Sorry, Councillor Martin, I just wanted to answer your question as well. I think one of the specific recommendations from the peer review is that as part of this, we documented the improvements we're making. So I think some of that is addressing that requirement that we show what we're doing at every level. And I think perhaps that's been reflected in what you're seeing at the moment. But I'm sure Councillor Davenport-Ray and Lucy will consider strongly the very good points you make.
If I can come back, Chair, I don't want you to go away from here thinking that this bit of work was completely useless, because it's a laudable task, and the work that's in here is actually really useful for me because I now have a better oversight of all the projects that are going on. I'm just not comfortable with sitting under a transformation plan. Now, you mentioned something I was going to raise, Councillor Ferguson, because one of the things the council has done, which has been transformational, is the workforce strategy, and that goes to culture, which is one of the 7 Cs, which is part of the LGA's transformation plan. So that there are things absolutely this organisation has done to transform and as transformational, but unfortunately it's just not here in the transformation plan. So a recommendation from me, Chair, to put to Cabinet is that, yes, this plan is good, is useful for us to have. Don't call it a transformational plan. Call it a tracker, call it a service delivery plan, call it something else, and actually bring back a transformational plan which talks about the 7 Cs, which answers all the questions that are set out, that the LGA quite helpfully give us. And bring that back to us so we can see, okay, this is a service delivery plan, but what is the transformation that we are doing within the organisation?
Thank you. Are you okay, officers? Do anything else? No. When I read this report, I was very happy because everything was in one place, and I did say that it's good to get that overall sight. But I do tend to agree with you. That word transformation, when I read it, it wasn't what I was expecting, but it was good to see everything in one place. So I think the word transformation is an incorrect word for this report. I'm not sure how other members feel about that, but I am quite happy to put that proposal to Cabinet to consider using a different name for this report. Open to members. Yes, Councillor Catmull.
Thank you very much, Chair. I mean, it's kind of related to this because we've got a project classification in here that I have to admit I don't understand. Because you read it and it goes something and something else and something else or something else or something else. And you put it together and you think, so what are all the things that don't meet that criteria? Because there's a block, so it's page 206 for those looking for it. A delivery program has to meet all these criteria to be a delivery program. So what happens to the ones that don't meet those criteria? What are they called? Where are they tracked? I'm slightly confused about what this is.
Lucy, if you would be able to enlighten on that, would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor, for the question. The project classifications, you are correct, it is trying to bring some sort of distinction on how we need to categorise projects. So I think previously, before this robustly wasn't being applied, and where we had, now we have 65 transformational projects or change projects, we also have 80 continuous improvement projects that aren't classified here. So that's what it's trying to bring some distinction on based on the element of risk, and that risk can be based on a various different elements of what you said, one of the following. So some of those may be based on the cost or the delivery time or the impact that it may have internally on services or externally. So there's so many different types of projects across the council. We need to try and bring a sort of structured approach to how we choose to classify them. Otherwise, we wouldn't be reporting 65 projects here. We would be reporting the 65 plus the 80.
Thank you, Lucy. Councillor Catmull, would you like to come back on that?
Thank you very much, Chair. That's really useful. I mean, that one page, it would be nice if it said that somewhere on it, that anything that doesn't meet these criteria is tracked elsewhere, because that was my slight doubt when I got to that page, was what's happened to everything else.
Thank you. I will definitely take that back. I think that's a really good suggestion, so thank you for that.
Councillor Tevlin, sorry, apologies there.
No, that's okay. I segue into this. So I echo what Councillor Martin and yourself, Chair, also say about transformation. So other local authorities like Cambridge City, they have a whole transformation team, and it's all about restructure. And so as we're going into LGR, I agree that transformation is not quite the right definition for this. It's sort of our current projects, our legacy projects, all in one place. I do believe we do need a focus in the next term, as it were, and the next couple of years up to 2027 for our legacy work and going into what we want Huntingdonshire to be like, and have that mapped out in its own strategy, whether it feeds into the work currently under this transformation style. But I agree, transformation isn't quite the right. It's causes a lot of fear among staff as well and officers, because you see transformation and you think restructure. So
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Yes, Mike.
Thank you, Councillor Tevlin, and I note your comments in the connection you've made, and without, with all due respect to other council colleagues, one of the criticisms I think is that people do make that connection between transformation and restructure. And we're really clear as an organisation that is not the case. Restructuring may occur as a result of different activities, but to say transformation is simply restructuring is not necessarily the case, particularly in local government, because actually it's about how we deploy our resources, where we deploy our resources, because, as I say, that word, and I think it was quite evident in the discussions around the peer review that the historic view of within the workforce was transformation meant restructure, which then had negative connotations. So we were very much in that journey, and I think where the peer review was looking to say was actually it's articulating how we get from the future strategy to the corporate plan to the MTFS to service plans and vice versa, so that we've got that golden thread. And I think everybody's kind of getting hung up on the word transformation, and it can mean different things to different people. And I know exactly the citing on the LGA's point, but I think if I go to page 192, the purpose of the transformation plan is clearly set out there within the corporate strategic planning framework document, which seeks to do that, which says the purpose is the council's approach to delivering change, service improvement and innovation across all services. So you've got some of the major projects there that are doing quite innovative work. And then to pick Councillor Katmer's point up, there's a whole batch of work that doesn't meet those thresholds of major projects, operational projects, that sits in general service delivery, which we're asking teams on a day-to-day basis to ask the question of why? Why do we do that? Can we do it smarter? Can we do it more efficiently? So that would be my comment from a CLT perspective, but I just really want to be careful and mindful of the fact that we don't jump to the conclusion of transformation means restructure, because that will ultimately have a negative impact on the workforce of the staff. And, we're in on those uncertain times with LGR and those sorts of things. So I just want to make sure we're separating out the two terms and we're not overlapping them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So I've got two more speakers, Councillor Gardner and Councillor Martin. Was yours on that piece? Is that okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gardner, and thank you, Chair. No, I completely accept everything that you said there, Mike, and don't disagree with anything you said there. Transformation isn't restructuring. Restructuring and transformation are two different things. And an organisation that thinks restructuring is transformation and it's a one and done exercise, they're very wrong, and they find out very quickly. Now, the purpose that is set out in Part D, purpose, yes, a transformation plan is the council's approach to delivering change, service improvement and innovation across all services. But can you tell me in the paper in front of us where that is shown? Because it doesn't show delivering change. It shows projects that we're implementing. Can you show us service improvements? Well, no, we haven't got any service plans in front of us, although we know they exist. And the innovation across all services, again, I don't really see that in front of us. So yes, the transformation plan has that purpose, and that's what I would expect for a transformation plan. But what we have in front of us doesn't match that purpose.
Chair, can I? So as I think I tried to allude to this earlier, but and I think when you asked the question about AI, as a portfolio holder, yeah, I get to talk to the service leaders all the time, and I get to read their plans, and I get to hear about all the innovation they're doing, and particularly in the case of customer services and Michelle Greet, who is, I think, a great innovator in this business and always looking to improve her service, and we see the consequences of that. It's sometimes a pity that well, I'm really the only conduit to bring that out to this committee and to the council in general, because otherwise, it stops in my inbox and those conversations. So I do think that those individual activities are really important. So I'm very happy to see them here, but I do also appreciate you also don't want to see 20 different service plans, because they can be quite hard work to read. But I think the enthusiasm of individual service areas is really important. I think is a big part of what makes this council great. So yeah, I take all your points, but I think that I'm very happy to see those in this report.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Gardner, thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much for the report. It was just under the workforce strategy on page 210. I just felt we say attract talent, keep people engaged, support well-being for a strong workforce, grow skills to prepare for the future. It would have just been useful at that point to me was, how are we going to do that? We're not telling us how we're going to do it. So I just think if you look across at customer change, again, if you had a sentence on how you're going to do it, I think that would have benefited across the board for all of us. That's my comment, really. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any comments?
There's a really good video on YouTube. It's about 5 minutes long by a guy called Simon Sinek called The Power of Why. Yeah, where he talks about great organisations don't concentrate on how, they concentrate on why. And I would suggest that what we're doing here is more about why. If you believe in something enough, you find ways to get it done. And sometimes the actual implementation is tactical and not strategic. So I understand what you're trying to say, Councillor Gardner, but actually it's about an intent. So yeah.
In which case, then, I want to know the why, because you're not telling us the why either. So, we need to be consistent. And just to confirm that I support yours and Councillor Martin's view about what was said earlier with regard to the transformation.
Thank you. Any more comments from the panel? Go for it.
Thank you very much, Chair. A very detailed one, but it's on the how. Some people are named in here an awful lot as sponsors. A particular Mr. Mike Gildersleeves seems to be sponsoring an awful lot of projects, and I wondered how on earth he manages to deliver that.
Yeah, Mike, it's supersonic.
You've seen my hairlines receding, right, James? I think the key bit is, we have got a robust process in place there. So yes, I am the overall sponsor, but below that, there's a whole team of people that either lead on the individual projects, and we get great assurance from the PMO team generally. So we, kind of operate on the basis that they are the eyes and ears. They're the ones that are going and gathering the information that comes up to our transformation board, and they have done a lot of the work to make sure we've got that governance in place. As I say, I don't propose to know the ins and outs of every single project, but that shouldn't be a sponsor's role. A sponsor's role should be able to pick up that and kind of look at it and go, yeah, does it feel, have I got enough information to kind of have a sense of that we've got the risks covered, and, there are any points that I need to kind of delve in a bit more into the detail of. But that's where this layered approach that we've got gives us that rounded assurance. And again, I think that's something that was alluded to both by previous work that's been done with internal audit, but also through the peer review. So I'm really grateful to Lucy and her team for the work that they've put around that to help making the role of a sponsor much simpler, James.
Yep. And you've lost one. Suzanne is mentioned numerous times throughout.
So if I may just confirm on that. So where they are aligned to an individual member of CLT like that and they move on, we've got Lydia Morrison who's joined us as an interim, and the works are actually out to advert for a replacement in that post. So again, that's something that working with the team they actively manage. And again, as a CLT, that's where we kind of operate on that basis. If we need to pick up and cover things for each other, depending on what we've got going on about our individual workloads at a time, that's what a team does. That's what the organisation does. And I think the fact that we've got the PMO team to give us the day-to-day assurance is the great resource we've got.
Thank you. Councillor Batwell, did you want to make a comment?
No, I think that's been covered by Mike. Thank you. My concern also was obviously losing Suzanne and keeping the momentum here with a new member of staff and budget time and obviously lots of other pressure. Thank you.
Councillor Ferguson.
So I wanted to thank the committee for, as usual, your very honest and robust feedback on these things. I think, if we cast our minds back to almost 4 years ago and we started looking at the performance reports, they've been through a tremendous improvement because of the honest feedback of this panel. And I think we should recognise that the first time we bring something to a committee, it's always up there as a straw man. So and I know that both Lucy and Lara have put a lot of contemplative work in trying to understand and figure out what their definition of transformation is, and so your feedback will be very useful to them. I just wanted to also, we talk about attracting and retaining excellent staff. I just want to say thank you to Lucy and the whole team who all here tonight as well. And I can say as a portfolio holder and not the portfolio for this, but I've never been better briefed by a bunch of officers, all of whom have chosen to stay late on bonfire night. So thank you to Lucy, to Ben, to Steph, and to Greg for the fantastic work you've done in briefing me. You make my job very easy, despite the fact this is the most difficult committee in the whole council. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I have got a question, but I won't. I'm open for members to have any more before I ask my question. Anyone else? All good? Yeah, so I just wanted to pick up on, obviously we have a lot of, as you said, Lucy, we've got a lot of projects in there. And yes, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm really disappointed that we have not alluded to St Neots Riverside paths. We know we've got full planning permission on this. I'm really, really worried when this is, so if Mike, you can find out when that planning lapses. We haven't got the funding for it. We had initial funding, which the previous administration, they started this project off, and I'm really, really quite sad that this is not going to be finished in our administration. So I'm really grateful to the previous administration starting this project off. Unfortunately, with price rises in the building construction work, we weren't able to finish it. We have done a section of path and it looks brilliant. So I'm sad that it's not in this transformation project, whatever we want to call it. I want to understand why it's not in there. It feels to me as though full planning, no funding, it's got forgotten about, and that's not what I want. Those paths are in desperate need for refurbishment. They're not fit for purpose, they're dangerous. So when I read Appendix 5, Transformation Plan, lists of programmes and projects 2025-26, one of them, 150, is discovery of commercial and sustainability opportunities for HGC Parks and Countryside. That's March 27. 172, development of a long-term capital investment plan for Parks, Countryside, Climate, March 26. And nowhere in there shows the project for St Neots Riverside Parks, which absolutely astounds me. So if we could have any comments on that, I would be most grateful.
Through yourself, Chair, I'll kind of give the officer response, and Councillor Ferguson may wish to chip in at some point. The long and short of it is, at the moment, in terms of, as we've explained a number of times, yes, the project has planning consent. As I understand it, that permission has been partially implemented, so will still be there. Part of the project has been delivered. There's no funding available for the other bit. These projects are ones that are reflective of the council's agreed capital programme. That project is not in the agreed capital programme. And it isn't a case that it's been forgotten, as we've kind of talked about. There are simply choices for the administration to make. And if you want to make that case to your colleagues through budget setting, that's a matter for the political space and not us as officers. Ultimately, the capital programme is set by full council. So to be fair to Lucy and the team, they've captured the projects there that do include those approved capital projects. The team, in terms of countryside services, do keep looking for funding and are always looking for that funding to not only do riverside paths but everything else. But as we've talked about a number of times, across the council we only have so much resource. We have to focus it in the areas that have been approved and agreed by the administration and full council. So that's the explanation of why it's there, Councillor Taylor. So I don't know if Councillor Ferguson's got anything further he wishes to add. Just one other thing I would say, sorry, before Councillor Ferguson comes in. I would be very cautious about using language around things like unsafe in the context of what we're doing here, particularly as a result of, as you know, we have statutory duties and we've got a team that do undertake regular safety assessments, all of those things where assets are our liability. Thank you.
So I agree with all of those things. I think being a councillor, being administration is all about resource allocation, basically, isn't it? And you have to choose how you're going to spend your money. I think speaking as like Ukes, Mum, we've been together on we were county council for 4 years together. I've been a councillor for 8 years, and you were a councillor before me. I think we've in St Neots, we've seen a period of unprecedented change, especially in Riverside Park, lots of which was brought about by the previous administration. It started lots of the projects that we finalised. But we have got, those paths haven't been updated since the park's been there. We have managed to update some of the paths. We've got fantastic new toilet facilities in Riverside Park, which are only there because of lots of work from officers at HDC and the town council in getting funding and chasing funding. I think we just sometimes have to be patient and take the opportunities as they arrive. So I agree that they're important, but we can't do everything everywhere, I think is the message.
Thank you. Regarding the unsafe comment, they may be statutory safe, but in my opinion, they are convex, they are narrow. We are having to use the grass because we can't use the paths. They're not accessible. You can't get wheelchairs down there. So in my context and my opinion, I'm not talking about HTCs, they do their best to fill the potholes, and yes, I agree, they inspect them. In my opinion, they're not safe, just for normal everyday use. Regarding the funding, we have already applied for the A428 funding and we were not successful. When I was portfolio holder, there was to be another remit of funding. This did not happen, and I was told when I asked the new portfolio holder that Hitchinbrook Country Park was to take priority. That was not the case when I was portfolio holder. The two would be working side by side and the funding would be looked for St Neots. I have spoken to the head of service for leisure, parks and countryside, and he has met me at the Riverside Park, and he will be looking at the project for funding further. We have got 35 million in seal. We should be applying and using it. Any other comments? No, I've had my rant. Thank you. Cool. Right, I think we're at the end of that, and I really do appreciate you all coming tonight. And oh, yes, please. Are you happy, Councillor Jennings, that we use that word endorsement, endorse?
Well, I don't think that the general comments of the committee were endorsing the approach at all. So, no.
Okay.
To help the committee out, Chair, I think the comments, etc., are duly noted and have been picked up by officers and Councillor Ferguson. They'll be replicated in the minutes. Honestly, I don't think a recommendation or a vote on it is probably going to be an efficient use of time, if I'm honest with you. It's not one that needs to be taken, but I'm sure Councillor Ferguson's happy to follow that up.
Well, obviously, I'll relay your comments directly to Councillor Davenport-Ray and to Cabinet as well, because I think they're important comments. So we do appreciate your feedback, and it's the purpose of this committee, so thank you.
Thank you. If members are happy, Lauren has taken everything and minuted it. I'm quite happy to have the vote. I'm not opposed to it.
I'm sorry, Chair. Part of the purpose of scrutiny is to make recommendations to Cabinet. That is our main objective. So if we don't have a formal recommendation that is voted on by the committee, I don't, as much as Councillor Ferguson will take them, I know he will, at least it will then be in the Cabinet report as it was a formal recommendation. So for the sake of a couple of hands being put up, I'm sure we can manage.
Yep, quite happy with that.
I was going to say, can we just be really clear then what the recommendation is, Councillor Martin?
My recommendation was that the name of this report is altered to reflect what its contents is, and that the portfolio holder comes back with a true transformation plan in due course when one is available.
Panel, are you happy with that? Sorry, Councillor Martin, could you just say that again?
Sorry, I just need clarification of exact wording for the recommendation. So I literally have so far, you wish the name of the report to be changed to
reflect its true nature, so whether it's called a service delivery plan or something along those lines. And that the portfolio holder brings back a true transformation plan when one is available.
Panel members happy with that?
We need a second.
Just making sure they're happy first. Yep, Councillor Jennings, proposer, Councillor Martin, seconder, Councillor Jennings. And we'll put our hands up. Let's do it the proper way. Yep, thank you, panel. That is all vote. I can't say that word, so I'm not going to say it. We all voted for that. Well done. So, Councillor Jennings, are you happy with the word endorsement? Endorse? No. You're all right. Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the evening. Thank you all very much for coming, and it was a good meeting, and I'm going to use the gavel. Meeting closed.